Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you here tonight. My name is Johanna Hissing DeFabio. I am the Assistant Dean of the Executive Degree Program, and welcome to Women in the MIT Executive MBA Program. I'm so excited to share a little bit about the program we offer here at MIT, and more importantly, for you to hear the stories from our current student and two of our alumni. So with that, if we can move the slide forward. I'm also joined here today with Chrissy and Andy, who are here helping from a technical standpoint, as well as answering questions in the Q&A. And this is a really good time for me to share with you. I'm going to do just a few slides about our community and our program, and then we're going to open it up to our amazing panelists. And you should be using the Q&A functionality that we have on our webinar, where you can ask us any questions that you may have. So again, if you go to the Q&A and ask your questions there, we will answer them whether live or over the chat functionality. So I can't start talking about our program ever without talking about our mission. So the mission at MIT is to advance knowledge and educate students in the science, technology, and other areas of scholarship that will best serve the nation and the world in the 21st century. And the research that is done at MIT and across MIT, across all the different schools that we have here, are absolutely mind-boggling. Frankly, I look forward to looking at the MIT news that we receive every day about the new research that's coming out of this amazing institution. And some of it I may not quite understand, to be perfectly honest with you, nor am I quite convinced on how it's going to make a difference in this world, which is where the MIT Sloan mission really comes into play, where it is our responsibility here at Sloan to take the research and the new knowledge that's developed at the Institute and create organizational capabilities, and to drive the research and the new knowledge through organizations into the world. So the mission at MIT Sloan is to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world and to generate ideas that advance management practices. To me, this mission is not just something that we say, not just something we have on the wall, although both of those things are really true. We are truly mission driven, and to the point where for me personally, this aligns to my own mission, where I hope that I am making a difference in this world by graduating 250 students each year, who I hope, with the knowledge and the community, we inspire to make the world a better place, and that they feel they have a responsibility with the knowledge and the community that they have here to make the world a better place. I also really want to take a moment and talk about our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, something that we feel and believe really strongly here at MIT and at MIT Sloan, where we want to ensure that we create and foster an inclusive and supportive environment, and that we celebrate the diversities that everyone brings to the table. And our goal is to enable leaders, regardless of the race, ethnicity, gender, religion, disability, and sexual orientation, to achieve the extraordinary. I want people to be able to come to class, to interact with their classmates and be their true, authentic selves, and feel a sense of belonging and inclusivity as they do that. So let's talk a little bit more about our commitment to the women in the MIT Executive MBA program. We want to make sure that we celebrate the women that we have in the program and create an environment for them to feel supported. So that includes the women's group that we have each year, where women leaders in the program create programming for their classmates. There's also peer coaching, typically through the women's group, but also more broadly across Sloan. They bring in speakers. We have our fireside chats, which is the opportunity for students to share their own personal stories and their hopes and dreams. And of course, there's lifelong networking, whether through their classmates, through the MIT EMBA network, through the Sloan network, or by joining the various alumni clubs across the US and the world to connect with various MIT alumni and Sloan alumni. I also want to share a little bit about the MIT Women's Advancement Series. We started this, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where we wanted to create some programming dedicated towards women's advancement. I spent 10 years in the private sector before coming to Sloan. I've been here for 12 years. And 10 years previously, I worked for an organization that was deeply committed to women's advancement. And that being early in my career has really lived and resonated with me beyond just the private sector and coming here to MIT Sloan. So this is really part of the reason why we started the women's advancement is my passion, but it's not just me, it is all the people on my team and certainly my female students, but equally I am always happy to see male students in the women's advancement series. It's a series of candid conversations. We build upon the students' strengths and skills to enable success and forward thinking. We engage with your extraordinary community of MIT Executive MBA women, and we bring in alumni are also welcome to come back for these series. I know that I think both of the students here, or both of our alumni here have attended in the past, and really helping address challenges facing women in the workplace. So with that, just wanted to give you a bit of a taste of our program as well as the community that we have here. And I really want to turn it over to the amazing women who have joined us today. We have Alexia here, JB, and Kleji, who are here, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. And I'm so grateful for the three of you for coming and spending some time to talk to the people on the webinar today to learn more about the program. So with that, Alexia, would you mind introducing yourself, talking a little bit about obviously being in the current class, and why did you think you wanted an MBA? Let's start there.
Okay, thank you, Jen, for having me on. I'm really excited to be part of this. I am super passionate about this program. It has been life-changing, and I've met some incredible friends and the network you build. I am so thankful that you all have done this in person so that we have gotten that network. My background is engineering, went to Georgia Tech, have an industrial engineering, which people call imaginary, but we still embrace the engineering aspect of industrial engineering. Immediately went to law school, never had a business class. And so I had the benefit of getting selected by the board and elected at age 38 to be the general counsel of a billion-dollar company and the first female, and getting the opportunity to sit at the table with all of these men and never had a business class. And so about 4 years into being GC, I was like, I need to make sure I understand all of these terms. And MIT was my first choice. Like, the brand associated with MIT is just unbelievable. And the credibility that I already got from the engineering and the law has like amplified by 10,000 the fact that I now have MIT associated with me. And then yesterday I got a new job, so you see a new title, and I think that's the benefit of this entire program is it makes people view you in a different way and gives you a lot more opportunities that I never would have imagined would be possible. I would have thought that I would have been the lawyer, and now I've gotten into the business side, and it's pretty incredible. So that's a little bit of my story. Do you want me to go into more of that?
We'll start there. Thank you so much, Alexia. And congratulations on the new title and new responsibilities, more importantly. Just to toot your horn, you went from, it sounds like 100 people reporting into you to 500?
50. I had corporate secretary, concerns and compliance, and legal. So it's a little small group. So 50 to 500. I amplified a lot.
So amazing. Congratulations. So well deserved. And I cannot wait to hear all of your success stories in your new role. So moving on to JB, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and your story and share why you thought an MBA was a good choice for you?
I've kind of had a pretty cool story. I came from the Air Force, and so I did 6 years in the Air Force. So for those vets out there, happy to talk offline about what it's like. Uh, and then I somehow went from consulting into pharma, and I started my career in a leadership role. So I was already a leader at 21, but I had no business leading anybody, right? So I was someone that was constantly learning and listening and realizing that leadership is really a role. But then there comes a point where you need to kind of arm yourself with some instinct, but actually have something behind it. So I'd been making decisions for years, but I also felt it was coming a point where I had some really smart people around the table, and I wanted something that made me feel that my intuition and my on the job training, had kind of come through here. So I actually had a lot of cool things happen while I was in the program and when I was out. While I was in the program, I was going through the largest overseas acquisition that Japan had ever had, which was Takeda purchasing Shire, which was awesome. And I used it actually real time in the program to make decisions and real time using the methodologies and techniques from data modeling and decision making. So that was a really cool experience. And then when I left, just amplifying what was really awesome about this program is someone in my class was working over at Moderna, and I was able to leverage that network to basically go, as we like to say, help change the world and save the world. And that was a really cool story to be a part of. So I spent, over 2 years at the height of the pandemic before they launched their first product. And that was entirely because of a relationship that I developed here and the credibility I'd gained as a peer, and how I performed in class was able, someone was able to speak on my behalf without ever having to work with me and said, I'm a solid person. So that was a really cool environment, and I'm happy to share any of those type of stories.
Great. Thanks, JP. Love hearing when EMBAs help other EMBAs. One of my favorite. Makes me so proud and happy. Cleese, you want to tell me a little bit more, or tell us a little bit about you and why MBA?
Wow, why MBA? I was listening to the stories and feeling all that emotion of being at MIT again. All of this happened to me as well. Well, Clary, nice to meet everybody. I'm Chief Commercial and Operating Officer of maritime company called CMA-CGM. It's a $73 billion organization today. Became famous during the pandemic because although 90% of the world goods transported by sea, nobody really paid attention to how much that is important to every single economy. So it was interesting that even during the MIT program, when we started before the pandemic, nobody really knew what I was doing. And then after that, it's just flooded with questions and people really interested to know a little bit more about the supply chain. Today, I'm in charge of several departments in our organization, meaning also in charge of Latin America, the whole commercial strategy, pricing, and the development of those countries. For CMA-CGM, we have 150,000 employees. I have thousands of people in my team. And I was always passionate about sustainability. I was always passionate about learning. And I wanted to learn something new. And I was going through that midlife crisis. I wanted to learn. I wanted to change my life. And then my boss at that time, who was a great mentor to me, he was an EMBA. And he invited me to one of those classes, and it was just that click. This is what I have to do. This is my time. And then I applied, and it's basically changed my life. I have to say, I used to say that if to my team and to my friends, if you knew me 20 years ago, you don't know me now. And now I can certainly tell you that if you knew me before MIT, you definitely don't know me now, because it changed me in a way that I didn't even expect it, right? I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about management. I learned a lot about people. And coming from a communication background and going to a completely different mindset of decision-making through data, it was really special. So it was an incredible time to me.
Wonderful. And just as a reminder, feel free to keep the questions coming in, the questions and answers, and we're happy to answer them there. I did want to ask one more question before we sort of also continue to. As I also see, there's a lot of answering them on the chat, but was more. So it's clear why you chose MBA. Why MIT? JB, you're the only one who's local. Alexia and Clyde, you both flew in for or are flying in for the program. When I get the question, Joe, what are I'm flying in, am I at a disadvantage? I always say there are pros and cons to both, as with most things in life. JB, why don't you share a little bit about why MIT for you, and then I'm curious to hear from Clyde and Alexia.
Yeah, why MIT? It's kind of hard to say why not MIT, because there is no program that I considered other than MIT. It was the only one I considered. And another thing about me is I already had a master's. I didn't go to MIT to get a master's. I went to MIT to go to MIT. And my brother, when he was 6 years old, he wanted to go to MIT. And so it's been a steady drumbeat in our family. Even though he didn't go, I've known what it was for my whole life, and walking past it, working in the Boston, Cambridge area, it just kind of was something that I started thinking more and more about. And, Joe knows this, there was someone actually in the program that used to work for me, and he went to one of the preview workshops, and it wasn't even on my radar that I needed nor wanted a degree to spend time doing one. And he comes back from the preview workshop and he says, JB, we're doing this. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, we're going to MIT. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he just started talking in rave reviews, which turned out to be exactly correct, about what MIT was going to give us. And it wasn't about the degree. It wasn't just about the fact that we're going to have a network. It wasn't just about the education. It was the amplification of us and our own ideas in an environment that we can actually be challenged. And the way that he communicated, it was like, they have an analytical approach to the way that they're doing business, and that's the future. The future is not just go get a degree. Like, okay, yes, but it's about the way that they think. And to Joe's credit, it's also about the way he felt when he was there. And he was like, everybody there is like us. He's like, they're humble, they're smart. They want to help each other. No one's pushing each other off the top of the chair, to see who can get there first. He's like, this is a community of service-oriented people that are smart but it's not what they're leading with. They just happen to be smart, and they're trying to really do something different. And it was really clear how he'd been affected by the program's, preview workshop, but it was also just as transformative when he came to me. And it was actually pretty funny. I didn't apply it immediately. He actually asked me to be a referral for him. I referred him, and he sent to me in March, and he's like, send me a screenshot. And he said, so that just happened. And he got in, and he said, and your date is on June 1st, and I'll be referring you. And he was that adamant that we were doing it, which again, I don't know how it actually happened, but we actually both did get in. And I wouldn't have changed it for the world, but I had the momentum behind someone that had the clarity of purpose of what MIT could bring us, with also the awareness of the environment that we were working in. And he really understood how those two things could connect. And going back to one of the panelists that spoke, it's just something that you're not the same person after you go. There's something that fundamentally changes in you and the way that you view everything, and also the way you view how to have an effective team. It's much more than the methodology. It's much more than a degree. And if you're coming here just to get like more dollars after your name, I want to make more money, so I need an MIT. That's not the reason that you're going to probably get self-selected or selected out. Those are not the people that are going to succeed here. You're definitely going to get that at some point, but it's going to be the reason that you got to where you are already, which is you putting yourself out there and knowing that you're competent and capable. And then the MIT brand is just going to amplify that. But for me, that's why I came. I came because somebody was inspired by sessions like this, but it was an in-person one, and motivated and pushed me to put myself out there, which is part of why I think it's important to remind ourselves that as a female community, we also have men that are our ambassadors as well. And that was my story.
Great. Thanks, JB. Claudia, do you want to talk a little bit about why MIT for you?
Oh, why MIT? In fact, when I decided to do an MBA, I actually had an option and I got accepted in an MBA 15 minutes from my house. And then I also got accepted at MIT 3 hours and a half flight, every 2 weeks. And then at that time to make that decision, I remember talking to my family and my husband saying, well, wait a minute, you're really considering going to Boston instead of just going 15 minutes away from the home. And yes, definitely yes, because at that time I was completely enchanted by the transformation that I saw happening with a person working with me, right? I had a mentor and I could see him before the program, during the program, when he was applying everything that he was learning in our group and showing all that content, bringing some pieces of it so we could have a taste. And after the program, I said, no, I need to be part of this. There's really no another choice. And I think it was the best choice. I would do everything again. I tried, Joanna, well, so I tried to delay my
Talk about that
departure
next.
if I could. And definitely, it was a no-brainer to me.
Great. Alexia, how about you? Why MIT?
I mean, it's y'all's brand. It goes so far. And then the people that you attract because of that, it just builds. I think there's some questions about just kind of the network and the amount of caliber that you've gotten in this program is just amazing. And because y'all do it in person, which nobody else started to do, y'all kind of were the first. And I mean, poor Clegy had to actually do the full and then they came on back into person when we started. And so it was really fun to kind of see them because they got to see each other for the first time. So they've been Zooming for the last year, but we were, testing every 3 days. We couldn't get into our class unless we had gotten a COVID test. And so, I mean, it was so incredible to be able to also kind of a hassle to have to test, but be in person, because that is the value that you get from MBA. There are so many programs that you can do online and it's great. You got your degree, you put it on the wall, whatever. But both the panelists have said, you get these friendships that will forever change you. And I mean, I've gone to law school and have a deep connection with my law school friends, and then undergrad is the same way. But these are my ride or die. If I need somebody immediately, I can call my MBA friends. It's pretty incredible and special.
It is. It is special. Every class has their own persona, but the one thing that stays true is their connection to each other. That never differs. We're getting a lot of questions about the certificates that we offer in the program. And just to give a little bit of context for those who are perhaps less familiar with our program, most of the courses that our students take are lockstep, and sort of we tell you what courses you will be taking as part of a general management degree. And while most of those are, what you would expect, like strategy and marketing and finance, I do think that with our data-driven approach and the science of management, that the courses that we offer tend to have a little bit more of a sciencey take on business. And there's a uniqueness in not just the data models and decisions courses that we offer, but especially in the system dynamics course that we offer, as that is a discipline that was developed here at MIT, and to me, a way that I think all leaders, and especially executives, need to think about how a variety of you make a change in one area and there are unintended consequences in other places. And you really need to be looking at the full system in order to make decisions about changes. But that said, while a lot of it is lockstep and you do it with cohorts and you sort of stay together throughout that time, there are opportunities to take some electives both in the EMBA as well as outside of the EMBA, and that's really where the certificates come in. So for those of you who took them, I think some of you may have taken more than one. I'm looking at you, Clyde. Talk to us a little bit about which ones did you take and why, maybe.
I was just answering that. We have 4 certificates available. And Joe, I don't know if you have 5 this year, but they were fantastic. it was sustainability. So I took the sustainability certificate, business analytics, entrepreneurship and innovation. And I just did not take the healthcare because there was no time. But I was very interested in learning a lot about those three topics, and especially business analytics, because it was very challenging for me coming from a communications background. But the way the course is set up, once you get to the final round, let's say that the last class that you have to take to get the certificate, you're ready. And it's what you give is what you get. And people come to me, how come you took the 3 certificates? I say, I just decided that I wanted to learn and I wanted to do that, and it's doable. And I have classmates that in fact did the 4 of them, which makes me a little bit jealous. So, but it's definitely an opportunity that it's exclusive to MIT. And actually I had a conversation with the other MBA course, so they called me to say, okay, why one of the reasons that you chose MIT over coming here 50 minutes from your house, is say the certificates was also something that was very attractive. And in fact, today in my organization, I'm in charge of sustainability as well. And I think that a great portion of the reason that they gave me that responsibility was because of my certificate.
That's wonderful. We do have one more now, the entrepreneurship and innovation certificate. You know, and I would never recommend for anyone to do 3, let alone 4. But that, as you can see, my recommendation in having a life outside of school doesn't always get listened to by students who enjoy to get as much as they can out of this experience. Alexia, did you do any? Are you on the road to certificates?
I am, but I'm only doing 1. So now I'm feeling a little like insecure about my status of 1, but I have loved it. You know, the one thing that's kind of cool about the program is that in January we do these electives. And so you come in and you have classes Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday. So it's like 2 days of just like an intensive class. And so during that time period, you have these opportunities to take these electives, and the certificate kind of gaining really can occur then, because that's when you have these opportunities to take all these different electives that can satisfy the elective aspect of these certificates. And I practiced environmental law for 11 years with an emphasis on Clean Air Act compliance. And so the sustainability track is like in my blood. And the one thing that's been really cool is Professor John Sturman developed the whole entire system dynamics way of thinking. He is very passionate about sustainability. And they've always had a sustainability lab. So one of the things, you know, like that MIT really does a great job of is like, let's make this practical in your life. And so here's a class, but like, let's give you a project that you can take into your job. And so they have a sustainability lab. That was always kind of what you did to get your sustainability certificate. And this year they have offered this new class called Sustainability Strategy for a Sustainable Future. And so it is a full semester long, and we as MBAs are the only ones that are allowed to take it remotely. And so it's a class of like 100, a lot of baby MBAs are in that class. And then there's like 20 of us MBAs that get to remote in. John Starman is teaching it along with Jason Jay and Bethany Patton, who are kind of like the pinnacle of sustainability in the world. And so to be able to have the opportunity to learn from them is pretty incredible. And every class is kind of a new perspective of things, and even practicing environmental law and feeling like pretty astute in that entire world. I've learned so much of just kind of like thinking through the practical implications of like a plastic bag, and is it better to have a plastic bag or a paper bag? And then you actually think through the like entire life cycle analysis of like which one is right, and just kind of like awakening me to things that I just really wouldn't have thought of. And so I just think they do a great job on that. And I can't speak to any of the other ones, but sustainability, I'm really passionate about. And then, I mean, not that this should be a driver, but you also get like a really cool, like STIO, like logoed out jacket and some cool, like graduation regalia. I can't imagine like what you were sporting at graduation, Clete, like with the 3 different certificates.
Well, let me tell you that I have 4 graduation parties. So That's just to begin. So it was fantastic.
I love it.
And Bethany Patton is an EMBA alum as well, so that's a great way of adding her into the picture. JB, do you want to talk about any of the courses? Did you take courses outside of the EMBA? And if not, talk to us about coming back for January exec electives as an alum.
So I'll do the latter. I didn't take a certificate, but what I did is take every class in the analytics certificate but one, because I felt somehow it gave me the power to decide, as opposed to feel that I'm taking something based off a track. And so I took all the hard ones. I probably had one that was easy that I didn't do, but it was really, really cool. I took Analytics Edge and all of that kind of stuff. So it was really awesome to be able to really experience, all the analytics side without it having to be about the certificate. It was about the learning for me. The certificate is just icing on the cake. And again, it gives you exposure if you want to take those classes, but don't feel bound by those certificates. If there's 3 classes in every single certificate you want to take, then take them. And it shouldn't be about that. But the certificates are nice if you want them. So for me, the January electives is essentially like an annual reunion for every single class. And then you meet new friends of the classes before and after. We all kind of made a commitment to our classmates in 2019, not knowing that COVID was going to happen. But we basically said, we're coming back every year. So if I don't see you, I'll see you in January. And it's really an awesome event. It really is like a 4-day reunion where everyone comes early and everyone leaves late. And it's really emotional every year. And yes, there are classes and you do take those. And you as an alumni have access to up to 2 classes. So there's 2 2-day classes, so 4 days. And you have an opportunity to take and stay connected with the community and still access that education and keep exposing your brain to those learnings. So it's really cool. You get access to both. You don't lose your network, you get new friends, and you can also continue to learn the latest.
My biggest disappointment of 2023 was that I got COVID after 3 years of dodging it, being on campus with the students in the early phases of COVID, didn't catch it. But when did I catch it? Right during January executive electives. So I didn't get to see any of my former students. I was so bummed.
And we missed you.
Oh, I was so sad.
Noticed.
It was so sad. And I really liked the advice from JB, who was saying that you don't have to do the certificates. And I think it's, I actually like Clyde's story too, because it sounds like it did help you in your career and gaining some more responsibilities based off of it. I don't think that my students in general need it, but it's always a nice, it's a nice thing to add, but I wouldn't do it unless you felt like every class that you had to take for the certificate actually was something that you wanted to do.
But Joe, I
Yeah,
would also like to add that is a good opportunity to interact with other classes, because some of the certificates, they require classes that it's with different classes at MIT that you would probably not meet. So your network increased tremendously. So I met a lot of people during those classes. So it was very interesting as well to grow your network if this is what you want to do.
I think that's a great point, right? So in taking these classes, you're taking them outside of the Executive MBA program and taking it with the 2-year MBA. We're not allowed to call them the baby MBAs, Alexia. And so you do it
Politically incorrect from the South. Sorry.
So the 2-year MBAs or the Sloan Fellows that we also have in the community, as well as what we call the pre-experience program, so Masters of Finance and Masters of Business Analytics. And so it can be a great experience with that. I thought this question was really interesting. What was your biggest challenge as a woman in leadership, and how did MIT help overcome it?
I'll take that one. I've had a couple women. So I am the only person on my entire floor that's not a secretary, and have been for 6 years. Everybody else is a man. And so I have had the opportunity, like I said, and that's one of the things that attracted me to this program, was that everybody's a little bit older. You're not going to a program that's like 33, 34, where they're like, we'll give you an opportunity to see what it's like to be on the C-suite. I'm there. And so I've had the opportunity to sit at the table at every conversation during decisions. And I have been always self-conscious about speaking outside of my lane. Very cognizant, like I need to stay legal and analysis, like do all the analysis associated with risk and everything else. But this program has given me a lot of confidence and like just an awareness of the financial pieces and the marketing pieces and all of the different touch points that actually happen in a business. And so I have opened my mouth a lot more. And then I've had a couple women within the company say stuff to me like, oh my gosh, Alexia, like you're talking a little bit more. Like, thank you for being present for us. You're the senior most female in our entire company. And you being more present and visible and outspoken, just brings a lot of value just to our gender. And I appreciate it. And I would say that, I've been in this role for 6 years. And yesterday I transitioned to a new one, but having this program now is just given me that just a little bit of and I'm so thankful for it. So.
Great story. Love it. JB or Clyde, either of you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think I would like to add as well that sometimes we go through situations at work and we have such a network, support network. And one of the things that I wanted to mention as well that I never expected to gain so many friends, lifelong friends, after 40 years old. I never thought this would happen to me at that time. And going through the program, and exactly like Alexia mentioned, you just more self-confident. You start the program with that imposter syndrome, because everybody's fantastic. Jo and her team make a fantastic recruitment, and you see all those high profiles in your class, and you immediately start to feel that imposter syndrome, but it goes away very quickly because they also do a very good job to make sure everybody there is equal and we can talk to each other. So that helped me tremendously. And with that, I have lifelong friends from the 2 classes I was part of. So I'm very happy with that too.
If I can add on this, I actually didn't feel like I had a lot of, if you will, insecurities going in. And I actually realized while I was in the program that I won't say that it gave it to me, but it made me more aware of my strengths and weaknesses because you're exposed to just such impressive people. And for me, it wasn't even so much an imposter syndrome as it was like, wow, this guy over here just IPO'd his own company he made up for $1 billion yesterday. And this one over here is mission support for NASA. And this, so literal rocket science, and like I'm going around and like, I'm like, man, all I do is like program management, like, and I'm like thinking like, okay, like this one's a surgeon and a chief of this. And so it just kind of made me initially almost invalidate what I brought to the table that I was previously arguably pretty confident about. And then what I also started to realize is in every team setting and in every environment, the things that I brought were unique and different, that I was actually much better able to communicate what my value in every room was, as opposed to it being around the job that I held. It was much more about things like being a connector and an amplifier and a voice for people. And I also led the women's group for our, reluctantly, I actually ended up leading it because I was kind of asked to do it because of those things that were a little bit more silent. And the reason I bring that up is we all bring something to the table and we all have something strong and something weak. And this program helps highlight both sides, but it gives you a network to complement both of those. So I, now in the world where I'm at right now, I think I'm spending a lot of time with clarity of what it is that I can do. So when I'm doing interviews and I'm looking for my next role, I think the MIT gave me the confidence to say that I know my worth and I know my value, and it's not the job title. It's what I want to do and what I can do.
Yeah, so every year at the end of the program, we have students complete a survey sort of for the last class. So Alexia, you're going to experience this in a couple weeks, where basically students get to say, what did you get out of the program? What impact has it had? And one of the things that what we see every single year is, when you do a word cloud, is confidence in big letters in the middle. And it never ceases to surprise me, right? Because people wouldn't have made it here, the success that they've had in their role, without some form of confidence. But still, that this program, and I think because of the support of their peers and them, seeing how valued they are in the community, and it's not to answer all the questions. And I think this is the piece that I'm really proud of, is that it's not that my students think that they know all the answers. It's that they know how to frame a problem, understand it from all the different angles, and then be able to use the knowledge that they have to frame the possible solutions. But not alone, right? It's knowing who to pull into that solution, and who the stakeholders are, and being able to drive change in a way that people actually want to follow. So I always love talking about my MIT EMBA baby. So here we are. So I would love to hear a little bit about, what do you see, what has been what was the biggest challenge for you as you went through the program?
Well, Joe, I can talk to this one because I give a lot of advice on this piece, which is really how do you balance all the things that are on your plate? Because you're essentially taking another full-time commitment. And the way that I don't even know if it was you, Joe, that said this, but I really have taken it to heart, where you have your work, you have your home life, whether it be your friends or your family, and you have your school life, which is going to be both homework and also the social. And if you put that in a triangle, every single week, something is going to have to give. You are not capable, nor are you expected, should you be, to be excellent in all things at the same time. But what you do need to do is you need to communicate to one of those parts of the triangle where you're going to have a trade-off for that week. So for instance, if you're going to be working on Sunday, and that's normally your family day, you need to communicate to your family in advance, set expectations. This is going to be a day we have a team thing and we need to work on that day. And but Wednesday, it's going to be our night. And really manage expectations proactively. Don't wait till it's happening and your family's feeling like you never talk to them, and your work doesn't know where you go on Tuesdays, and et cetera. So really proactively work on setting expectations on each of those, and give yourself a break. Recognize you will fail at one of those three every single week, but it will change. And it won't always be your family, it won't always be school, and it won't always be work. So you have to make sure that you do those trade-offs.
And I would like to add, JB, if I may, that the program, they do a very good job helping us to integrate the family as well, right? To what we're going through. So my husband was always happy to join me sometimes, and even go to the social events, or have the spouse week. So we interact with other SOs as well that were going through the same moment, right? Because it's a moment in our life that we fully dedicated to school, to other friends, to a different life that basically our family is not part of. But I think that MIT finds a way to bring everybody together with Family Week, SO Week, integrating the family to the program. And this is very important. So everybody understands what you're going through, and everybody's comfortable as well with the time you're dedicating to the program. Because like you said, it can take a lot of your time over the week.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, we're all type A, so we all want to be excellent. So you kind of go in there knowing that you're going to have to tell yourself you're going to not be excellent.
Such good points all around. I really have nothing to add other than, y'all don't understand how amazing Joe and her team are. They do such incredible things to organize events to bond you as a class. So on your weekends that you come, you have events on Friday night to have an activity, and then they make sure you connect with the class below you, and then you got Sloan Fellows, and then you have all these affinity groups so that you find connectivity among the different classes, and just it is an effort. I mean, I do not have a direct flight from Birmingham, Alabama to Boston, and it is so worth it. And my husband has been able to come. My kids came, well, one of them came because one was at camp, but to family weekend. And they have not been impressed that I have been at MIT at all. But I will say we have Mark Rober, who is a big YouTuber, as our commencement speaker, and now have gotten legitimacy because we have Mark Rober. And it just has been like really cool to see like them now. Well, the youngest kind of engaged a little bit, but kind of having just that like connection because of the events that y'all plan. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I always say, like, one of the sort of side effects of going through this program is learning how to prioritize in a way that you've never had to in your past experiences in life, because of the biggest challenge being work life and school. And I just want to point out that no one said class. But I say that honestly because, sometimes people ask me, Joe, why don't you have more women in this program? And I will, until we're at 50%, am I going to be working on getting more women in this program? And sure, people can say, well, there's a pipeline, but you can't tell me I can't find 64 women each year who would qualify and could do the MIT Executive MBA program. That's ridiculous. Of course we could. And so I think part of it is, MIT can come across as a really intimidating place. And I think people could be intimidated that the classes are too hard, and they're not easy. This is a very rigorous program, but people make it. People can do it. Yes, it's math, but data is part of the future. It is here to stay. And so you want to embrace it, and you can do it. And the other thing I always say is you're worth it, because I think women still to this day take on the burden of extra family responsibilities, whether it's parents, other family members, kids, whatever it may be. And you have likely carried that burden more so than others, and it may be your time now, and you are worth it. So I want to close out today and offer you all to give one piece of advice. Sarah here is asking, is there a skill I can develop now that would help me be more successful in applying? But I would go, you could answer that question and perhaps go even more broadly. What advice do you have for the people who are on this webinar today thinking about applying to the MIT Executive MBA? Clyde, do you want to start?
Yes. I was just answering this question actually, so thanks for giving me the opportunity to answer. In fact, the program team, Joe's team, give a very good job in identifying the gaps you have in your background, and recommend courses that you should take before you start the program. And sometimes some of them are conditional to your acceptance. So in my case, I went through the Harvard math course provided by MIT, and also the Berkeley statistics and probability, which is a very long course, but it helped me tremendously to go through a lot of the classes, and it was really necessary. The advice I'll give, if you're thinking about applying, just apply, because it's definitely going to be a time in your life that you're never going to forget. You're going to make so many new friends. We didn't even talk about the parties as well. So this was a big part of our time there as well. We were studying very hard. And like I said, I completed 3 certificates, but I also had the time to meet people after, to network with my classmates, make lifelong friends, and discuss things I was going through, and I didn't even know there are so many people that could help me with that. And today, whenever I have a problem, I think about one of my classmates that could help me with, and we have tons of WhatsApp chats. And I just throw something in the chat, and I have 5, 6, 7 in 5 minutes responses, and people willing to help. So if you're thinking about applying, just do it.
JB, what's your advice?
Mine's much more on the application process, and it's because of the fact that I know what you guys are looking for. And so when you guys are applying, if you're finding yourself say, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, comma, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, that is not what they're looking for. You're applying, we know you're the best. What they're looking for is your authenticity and your awareness of, if you will, what you need to work on. So if you already think you're the best, great, this isn't the program for you. If you know that you have the capability to perform at an excellent level and to amplify others, this is the program for you. And then from the essay perspective, something that I always talk about is that you should be telling a story. Write things from the perspective of something that is interesting. If it feels boring to you when you're writing it, it's probably really boring to read. And it's probably not an authentic display of who you are and your character. So really make every effort to write every essay, everything that has an opportunity to write a paragraph, have personality in it and have it be your personality. It should feel nothing like anybody else's, but really try to be yourself in those, because I think it comes through very clear. And so that would be my recommendation.
Great. Alexia.
Okay, my advice is like Cleety's. If you're thinking about it, do it. I mean, I feel like I had this analysis when I was trying to figure out if I was ready to have babies or not, but like, and there's never feels like a right time because you've got your career and everything else. And like, if you're thinking about it, do it. It has been worth every sacrifice, every canceled flight in Atlanta. I mean, you name it, the amount of friendships, the amount that I've learned, just it's worth it. And so I would encourage all of y'all, as you think about just this next step in your career and the next step in your personal development, just to make the leap forward and do it. So it's worth it. MIT is, I mean, obviously we are very invested and we are cheerleaders for this program. But it is all because we are that passionate about it. So do it. We're excited about it. We look forward to meeting you.
I love that. Thank you, Clyde, JB, Alexia. I so appreciate you all taking the time out of your evening to be here. And Alexia, I know you have homework you could be doing, and the fact that you're actually traveling out of the country is part of your final lab projects in a couple of days. So I so appreciate you taking the time as well. Just to close us out, just a couple of additional pieces of information for you if you're looking to learn more. There have been a lot of great questions coming from you, some of them very much answered on our website. So please feel free to go on our website, and if you haven't already, register your interest. You can also see some opportunities to learn more about the women's experience here at MIT Sloan. If you want to learn even more about the Executive MBA program, you can log on to some of our upcoming webinars. And you can see here, we have one on Tuesday around business analytics. We're actually going to be down, I'm going to be down in DC along with Chrissy, and we will be doing an in-person session in Washington, DC on Monday, March 20th. There will be a faculty masterclass, and then we'll have an admissions advisors chat and a sustainability panel, as well as an in-person info session in Brooklyn coming up at the end of April. And we hope, if you're interested in us, that you learn a little bit more by getting to know us and our students and alumni in these various sessions. So with that, I really just want to say thank you. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you to Chrissy and Andy for being here and helping answer questions and handle the technical aspect of today. And thank you so much to all of you who joined us tonight. I hope you learned something about our program, and I hope it was interesting enough that you are excited to apply. And with that, I hope you all have a great evening. Good night.